Hey YouTube, today I'm queuing up outside the Lego store in Bricktown that looks just like the one in Leicester Square, London, because in this episode we're taking a spin around this Lego store MOC. Hey guys, and welcome to Brick Talk TV. Terry here, and today we're going to be taking a look at this Lego store MOC by Berthil Van Beek. This is actually the second modular MOC that we've covered that Berthil's created. The previous one being the Friends and Big Bang modular. I'll put a card up here and I'll put a link in the description below so you can take a look at the walkthrough we did for that fantastic set as well. But back to today's set. This set is actually based on the Leicester Square Lego shop based in London, and Berthil originally entered this into the Lego Ideas programme, but I believe due to lack of support he withdrew it recently and also made the instructions available for free to download on rebrickable.com. Again, I'll put the instruction link in the description below so you can check that out and download the instructions you need to get going. The instructions are spread over 3 books. You get one for each of the levels here that you need to construct, and Berthil has kindly included stickers that you can print out and add around the different areas of the store, including the signage on the front and all the little details of signs for areas within the store actually inside the build itself. And you'll see these as we walk through it shortly. I'll probably do a video in the future on how to do the stickers and print them out, what paper I use, and if you want to create your own ones, how I do that. So do hit that subscribe button now to be notified of how I do that. And if you've got any other tips as well for that, do stick them in the comments below. But what we plan to do today is, like all of our usual MOC reviews, we'll go through each of the levels one by one, and I'll talk about the different features and build techniques that you get as you go through this build. So let's flip over now, and we'll start from the bottom as always, and then we'll work our way up. I'll also point out some of the minifigures that Berthil has suggested that we include. I have actually got all of the minifigures except one, which I decided not to put in, but we'll talk about that in a second. This set consists of 3,366 parts. The parts were straightforward to purchase, and I didn't have any particular problems in purchasing them. I did find that there was a tile that Shakespeare is holding with some scrolls on and some writing on, which actually was a bit expensive. I think it was somewhere between £5 and £10 to purchase this 1 2x2 square. But you can obviously optionally leave that out. It doesn't actually add to the design of the building. It's just actually the scroll that he would normally be holding as a minifigure anyway. But that was the most expensive part for this build. Apart from that, the rest of them were all standard. They were widely available. I could shop around and get a good deal. And I think for a set actually of this size, I think the build cost was just under £300 altogether. I presume that's probably because some of the cheaper parts that we used, but with great level of detail, such as the yellow ones, might have been the reason for the low price point. But actually, I think hopefully you'll agree that the look of this is really stunning, and there's some really clever techniques and different things hidden inside this build as well as on the external of the build, and we'll talk through that now as we walk through the different level of the set. So let's take a look at this ground level then. This modular is on a standard 32x32 base plate. Obviously the colour doesn't really matter what base plate you use. This one uses a dark bluish grey, which was fairly cheap and didn't cost too much money, which was fine. Then in terms of the actual outside detail, you've got some nice shop windows that are positioned either side here. It's nicely positioned on a corner as well, which I quite like. I do have a preference, I think, for corner modulars, just give you that extra detail of another facade that you can actually construct. And it's interesting the way that we get the angle going as well, which you can see in the build technique inside the build as you go through. You've got these nice Lego signs that are positioned either side here, which are used by Berthil stickers as well. You just use some tiles there, and you do have a sticker that goes over a couple of tiles just to give you that appearance. But they're very in keeping with the look of a Lego sign. Hopefully you'll agree with me there. On this side, this is where the entrance is. So here we've got the standard lamppost, which you see on all the modulars, so a tick for that one. And then here they've actually constructed a barrier here for people to queue up. And a couple of people, when I posted the pictures of this online, thought this was a COVID thing, but actually in the London store there is constantly a queue of people anyway. That happens when you go in and out of the store. So this would be, you typically see this anyway when you're queuing up in the store, and it's not necessarily to do with COVID. And we've got a guy here queuing up who's actually not suggested by Berthil, but happened to be a random citizen I had in Bricktown that I just stuck there for now. I will be actually positioning this in a new section of Bricktown shortly, and I'll probably do a video of that when I'm going to position them and set that area up in Bricktown. I'll probably wait until the new modular comes out in January with the police station and do some construction around that with some new road plates. So watch this space. So do hit that subscribe button to be notified of that video in the future. As I mentioned at the start of the video, this level was probably my favourite level because of the amount of detail that's packed into it, and also all the things that you actually do see in the Leicester Square store. So those of you that aren't lucky enough to have visited the store yet, you can get a real feel for what to expect if you ever do go to visit it, or if you have aspirations of wondering what it is like. This is very much typical of what you see when you go into the store. The minifigures that it suggests, Berthil suggests, are actually all positioned in this ground level in the instructions. So there's none positioned in the upper levels, although obviously you could. So inside here, and I'll go through them in detail shortly, you've got Leicester, who was the minifigure that was given away, I think, on the opening of the Leicester Square store. So he welcomes guests as they come in. Then you've got this structure here of Big Ben. And in the main store, this stretches up through a couple of levels because there's a mezzanine at the next level. So you can see this on level 1 and 2, hence why it sticks out the top of this one here. And then surrounding the Big Ben structure here, you've got a typical English policeman, you've got an English judge who's holding a pie, and you've got a Sherlock Holmes kind of detective figure that's stood round Big Ben. So these are kind of typical English people or British people that you'd see positioned around there. And that's what the theme is for most of the minifigures in this set. Then as you move through, there's a photo opportunity in the Lego store itself where you can actually go inside a British tube train, so a London Underground tube train. And you can sit next to brick-built figures of a bearskin soldier that guards the Queen, of a Shakespeare figure, and also a Queen figure. And there's also a driver for the train in this as well. And this has also been recreated by Berthil here. And instead of using Lego built figures, he's actually used the minifigures that were released as part of that. So inside the train here, you've got a typical train driver, standard Lego sort of issue train driver figure at the front who sits driving it with some controls. You've also got a bearskin soldier, which you can get, I think, usually from Hamleys as a minifigure. You've got the Shakespeare minifigure, and this is the one I mentioned earlier, has an expensive tile in his hand with a quill. So it's optional. You could leave out the tile here for a cheaper set, and it wouldn't make too much impact to the visuals. And I think this minifigure was available in the collector mini series 1 bag, I think. And then you've also got the Queen minifigure as well here, who's sat inside the carriage. So this is a great little addition, so you can position minifigures in here for their photo opportunities. So at the back, you've got a big Lego sign that's got a light above it with a cashier who's stood there. And there's actually 2 cashiers here, 2 Lego shop workers. One's holding a $100 bill, and then one is actually at the cash register itself. So the cash register is a standard sort of mini build with a keyboard and a monitor tile stuck on top of a hinged piece. And then there's like a bargain bin next to it with a couple of red tiles in to depict some sets that might be reduced, or maybe some gifts we purchased that are being ready to pick up. Then in the rest of this level, you've got some different bricks and tiles positioned to make it look like there's boxes of Lego sets. There's a central set of shelves where we've got some sets stuck. And then over in this side here, you've actually got some black sets which are depicted by Technic, because there's a Technic sign at the top. And then you've got some Lego City sets in the blue which are sitting there. So these are all stacked up. As part of the sticker sheets that Berthil did ask that you buy, there are some set stickers that you could actually stick on some of these bricks that depict actually the front boxes. He didn't actually outline those in the instructions. And as I was going through, I was in 2 minds whether to stick some of those on or not. And I haven't in this situation, but I may revisit and apply some of those stickers just to give an extra level of authenticity to the box that are stacked up on top of that. Also down in this level, you've got Brickley the dragon. So the standard dragon you see in most of the stores called Brickley. He's actually even got the detail of the London store in particular with an umbrella in his mouth as well. And he's positioned along here quite cleverly using some bricks with some hinges on as he zigzags across the front of the store. And he looks down on people as they come in and out of the store. Then over in this far back corner here, you've actually got the staircase which goes up in curves round back onto itself. And this is quite a clever construction here, using 1x3 plates with a 1x1 clip that hooks onto some rods that go up, and then you place a 1x3 tile on top to give the flooring. And it's quite a nice little build. It's a little fiddly, as I've mentioned in the other parts of the video, but actually it's quite effective in terms of giving this sort of modern looking staircase that goes up to the next level. So that's it on the ground level. Let's have a look now, and we'll see what the mezzanine floor on the second level looks like when we go on to that one. So here we are on the second level. Again, the architecture is continued outside here. You've got these nice detailed columns that are going up with some scroll work on top, and then you've got this sense of almost like a gutter running across the top, all in a tan colour. This is actually sort of typical of the architecture of those buildings on Leicester Square, so this is really in keeping with the style as well. You've also got some detail here on the angled piece with a nice big window to get lots of light inside there. And then these pieces here are typically sort of lights that are positioned that shine up the building during the night time. And there isn't any transparent pieces here, they're just plain black tiles on here just to give a little indication that these would be some lights. Then on the inside, this half here, or this sort of third here, is actually, there's nothing here. So it allows the Big Ben to come up through the bottom level into this space here. And also this is a mezzanine floor, so there's a balcony kind of effect going on here. And what I did find quite interesting was Berthil's use of a lever piece, the base piece, to stick it in across here, and use some glass pieces, transparent pieces, to slot them into that, which gives you the effect of a barrier overlooking the balcony to stop children from jumping off, or adults in fact. And I think it's used quite effectively. They're a little tough to stick in, so I'm not sure whether the glass pieces I have are a little too thick, but I did buy the things that were in the instructions. But they're a little hard to get in there, but it's worth pushing for all your might to get them in, because they do actually have quite a good effect. Then in terms of the rest of the area, at the front here you've got a notion of some more Lego sets. You've got some blue, green, red and white ones that are stacked up there just in front of the window. They're next to actually the picker brick wall. So here you've got a construction of all the different colours of bricks, and this is nicely constructed using various jumper tiles, which are nicely positioned actually to give you an effect of some consistent spacing between each of the coloured pieces and the buckets that would be used to get the colours. Again, a custom picture that Berthil's provided as part of the sticker collection there to put the sign for the picker brick wall symbols. And then above that, it made some good use of some, I think these are gun pieces used to make some spotlights, and these also positioned on this side and that side to give some great effect. In the centre here, there's a play area where kids could play with different Lego pieces, like a pit of bricks that they can construct. And you can see a notion of a house being built there already with some smaller bricks. Then this actually dominant piece in the middle here is a telephone box, a British telephone box. That's supposed to be another photo opportunity for guests and patrons of the shop to come in and take some photos to show that they've come to Britain. There is a telephone inside there that's made from a tile piece and the standard telephone receiver. And again, some stickers that are provided by Berthil Sticker Patch to do the telephone signage on top. Then you've got a couple of shelves at the back here, one for Friends and then one for Duplo. So these are green and the sort of lavender colour sets. So you've got some more shelf space there as well. And then over in this far corner, which is the staircase leading up from the last set, there's some great stickers that Berthil's provided showing you Lego through time. So you get to see all the different Lego logos that they've been through the time. So it's a timeline of the evolution of Lego's logos, which I really appreciated. And these are stuck on top of some large panels. So you haven't got stickers going over several pieces. They're just one sticker per panel. And this forms this corner over here. So it's quite nice. And again, it's in keeping with what you see when you walk up the stairs at the Leicester Square shop as well. And that's it. So there isn't too much to this level, but it's a nice level of detail. You get to build the telephone booth, and you also get to build the picker brick wall. And you could probably add some more detail, although it's quite tight on space inside here. So I think Berthil's done a good job of balancing the detail with also allowing you some space to position some figures. And there are some jumper tiles positioned on the floor as well to allow you to position minifigures in certain static poses as well if you wanted any photo opportunities. So that's the second level. So let's move on now to the roof. So here we are. This is actually the roof of the Leicester Square. Again, totally in keeping with the architecture that you see on the Leicester Square shops. You've got these nice scroll works that go across all the way across this side and this side to give it that nice level of architectural detail. You've got a nice clock face positioned here at the front, which is what you see in Leicester Square. And then with some great construction technique used to actually build this glass roof here. And as I mentioned before in other places of this video, it's quite tricky to get these, but you can build up a certain technique in terms of making sure that the 2 pins on 2 studs on each of these glass pieces are tightly in place before you position them in pairs across here. So you do the struts, these black struts first, and then you slot in the glass pieces. And they're actually not held obviously in the base because there's no studs there, but they're held here centrally with this piece that goes across here. You've also got a notion of a little chimney here, also extractor fan going on at the top here, but I think this is more just architectural detail, and they're not actually functional in the real build, because when you rotate this round to the back, Berthil's also provided a multi-level roof, and this is where the extractor fans are that are doing the air conditioning or whatever's ventilation's going on in the shop below. And this is probably one of the first ones where I've seen a significant level change in the roof, such as this. When he did the Friends video, again I'll put a link up here if you're interested, he did actually have some vent areas going across either side of the roof, with the lower area where the wedding is going on in the Big Bang Theory episode. And this one, again, adding another levels of levels within the roof. And I think I'll take some inspiration from this for future builds that I may do myself. Try to get away from the typical flat roof or just an angled roof, and think about how you could actually add some real detail into the roof and not just rush it to get the MOC done. So this is a great job, and it's worth just trying to recreate this roof if you do nothing else on this build, because it will show you some interesting techniques. There are also some more windows positioned along here. There are quite a lot of windows in this build, which I think is probably one of the reasons why some of the cost is a little expensive, because the frames can be a tad expensive. But that said, it gives you such a great effect when you actually invest in that kind of stuff, that I think this just actually also adds so much detail to the top. And so that's all the different levels walked through. So let's go back now and we'll just summarise on the overall build experience. So overall, I really loved building this modular. In these times of lockdown, it was actually nice to build a place that I visited before, and at the moment I struggle to get to given the current pandemic that's going on. The ground level was a particular highlight for me, packed full of lots of little details and mini builds, including the tube train and also the dragon that goes across the top. The roof construction was interesting. The technique used, as I mentioned, was a deviation from the standard flat roof, which you see in lots of modulars. And I think Berthil's done a really great job of capturing the look of this store, both externally and internally, and it's in keeping with the architecture around Leicester Square. He's really done a great job with these instructions. There are a couple of steps in the instructions where there were some parts that were called out, but actually I couldn't see them being added to the particular stages, so I actually left them out. And I'm not sure whether that was due to the view being obscured in the instructions, or whether it was a mistake by having them in the number of items requested for that particular step. But I didn't put those parts in, and I've still managed to build it, and there's not been any construction problems or any aesthetic loss. So I think it's probably a mistake in the instructions. But given again that these instructions are free, just be mindful of those and don't stress too much if you can't find some of the parts actually in the instructions. I do believe it is a mistake, but maybe Berthil will rectify that in future editions of the instructions. But I'm really happy with the overall result of this build. There are a couple of areas that can be tricky. For instance, the stairs, as you build up the steps internally, trying to get those pieces and those plates stuck together with some tiles, especially if you've got fat fingers and you might be a little heavy-handed, they can pop out now and again, but do persevere with it. Also, the detail here in the roof, trying to get these glass pieces stuck on just by 2 pins or 2 studs, can be a little tricky when you're constructing it. But if you just persevere and you build your own sort of way of doing it, then you do get through it. And as you can see, it is possible to reconstruct it based on the instructions that are provided. So if you're getting a little frustrated, take a break and come back to it, because the rewards of getting it right are far outweighing the frustration of getting it there. And hopefully you'll agree that it's an interesting technique for a roof, and hopefully one that you may be able to use in other buildings that you get to build in the futures if you do any future MOCs. The sticker sheet that Berthil provided was easy to print out, had no problems. The first run of printing came out fine. The size was correct. I just cut out as per the stickers, and they fit the pieces perfectly in my eyes. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I will do a video in the future looking at sticker sheets and how to print them out and cut them out, etc. But as far as this set goes, I think the stickers look really good. He did outline 2 sticker sheets that you can purchase, which I did actually through Rebrickable. And what I ended up doing was finding that all those stickers were actually, the ones I needed were available on his sticker sheet. So I probably didn't need to spend the extra money on those sticker sheets. So do check out the sticker sheet, see if there's anything on there that you will be needing. I think the only one that I definitely did need that wasn't available already on Berthil's sticker sheet was the small Lego sign that's situated over the front door. To get one the size that it was, I don't think it was provided on his sticker sheet. So just over here, I did actually use that from one of the original Lego sticker sheets that's put into his inventory list. So have a think about that as you're building it. So if your Lego town is looking for a modular Lego store, then you can't do much wrong than adding this set to your particular city. The architecture it adds is another level of interest in your city. Also, the details inside for any Lego fan will just be heartwarming as you build some of the sites that you see on a regular basis when you go to the Lego store. So if you did find this review helpful, do hit that like button and hit the subscribe button with the bell notification turned on to be notified of future MOC reviews we do on this channel. And until next time, stay safe and I'll see you then.